Hey everyone, it's Peerless. Welcome back. Today we're going to be going over The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. Um, just like all of his books, this one's pretty amazing, but I actually found myself having a hard time just even going to buy it. Something about a grown man going to buy a book called The Art of Seduction that just instantly makes you feel like you're pretty lame. So I actually spent quite a bit of time hooming and hawing over it until I finally realized, look, I love all this guy's books. I love all his content. I think he's absolutely brilliant mind. So why should I cut myself off to his knowledge? Because I feel like part of it's going to be lame and maybe turn me into one of these loser male pickup artists professionally, So after getting over that little hump, I was actually quite pleased that I did it and talked myself into it. The book itself starts off by trying to make itself as seductive as possible. And you say, well, how is that even possible? What are you talking about? So the cover itself, while incredibly similar to the 48 Laws of Power, it's actually meant to be a much smoother material. The pages themselves are absolutely amazing. It feels like they're almost silk. Just touching the book itself is very seductive, and I guess that's sort of the idea, to try to get you into that mindset. And much like in the 48 Laws of Power, as you can see here, it's not too clear, but over on the side here is going to be these purple text on the side, so it's going to follow the same idea of 48 Laws of Power. These are all quotes from other books, other thinkers throughout time, just peppered in throughout the chapters, and every time it's going to solidify his point. So once again, he's still keeping that style of a book within a book, a chapter within a chapter, which I find incredibly entertaining. Although it does make it a bit hard to read, you kind of want to jump off from the paragraph you're reading off to the side. So I ended up trying to keep on a system of reading all the headers of a chapter first, then going in and diving into the chapter itself. And that actually helped quite a bit, because those things are preparing you for exactly what's being told on the pages itself. So I found that to be very helpful, and I'm very glad he kept that format for this book. Once he finally moves away from it, I find it does nothing but hurt his books, not novels, rather. The book is broken down into 5 different sections, but really it should just be considered 2 different sections. The first little part of the book is going to go through all these different types of personality types. The rake, for instance. What is a rake? A rake is someone who people are attracted to because they're sort of a cat about town who, the idea is women would know that this guy is going around and seeing a bunch of women and dating them and, having a long tab with them. He's never going to stick around for very long, and that in itself is the appeal of it. So the idea is to go through all these different personality types and to find which one or ones best sound like you. They sound like you, sounds like the things that you could do, that you think in your mind, that you do in your actions. And if you can break those down, so that's the idea of follow these and you will have success in your seduction. When it moves on from that, the rest of the book is actually just direct advice on how to do things. It's very specific strategies of what to follow, what to do, how to talk to people, how to, essentially, for lack of a better word, play games with them in order to draw them into you. One thing that's worth noting is this Art of Seduction, while it is mainly focused on relationships, it is very easy to take these things, much like the 48 Laws of Power, and apply them to all aspects of your life, business, friendships, etc. You think of seductive as a romantic term, but it doesn't have to be that way necessarily. It's more of just sort of winning people over to your side and getting them to like you and be susceptible to your influence. So as a bit of a side, when I actually started dating my wife, I was actually halfway through reading this book, and I made a conscious decision to not take anything that I was reading in the book and applying it to our relationship. Just felt manipulative, didn't want to do it, and plus, if I'm not even done reading the book, how am I supposed to have a proper grasp on what to even do with this knowledge, right? And then, much to my surprise, while I absolutely believed in everything Robert Greene said, and it all seems to actually be very accurate and working, for some reason this relationship was progressing exactly how I wanted it to. And eventually I got to a section of the book that talked about people who just got out of very bad relationships. My wife had just been divorced. Her husband had cheated on her. It was very bad. And so one of the main things that he says at the end of one of these chapters is that if someone is in that scenario, someone is dealing with betrayal, a past betrayal, that any of these games that you play with them within the book to try to manipulate them or warm them into things will absolutely instantly repel them. And, you'll completely blow your shot with them whatsoever. They've been manipulated, they've been hurt, and they see those actions in you, they're going to rate it right off the bat and stay away from you. And so when I got to that part that, it says don't do this at all, I realized, okay, so I thought I wasn't following the advice of the book, and that's why things were going well. But eventually I got to a section of the book that said, hey, look, don't use these techniques if someone's in that situation. And, my internal reluctance to use those types of techniques was actually in itself a technique from the book. And, I can speak for nothing to success for it. So, while these are great techniques for picking up people or, like I said, influencing people, sometimes just staying true to yourself is the best way to go about it. And the book itself recommends that as well. So that's not just my own personal take on it to try to take something away from the book. It actually suggests it because, well, it accurately works. As I was going through reading this book, I dated a lot of women in my lifetime, and obviously all of them but one is a failed relationship. And so I was able to see times, when I had blown things with girls, things from the book that they set up as laws that you should follow that I was not following, and that's why those things had fallen apart so quickly. And times when I was really successful in wooing women, rather, I'd actually inadvertently been following things that are suggested in the book, having not even read it yet, just sort of a trial and error of bases, and those things that led me to great success. So instead of just going through your life dating a bunch of women and having a long list of bad dates and trial and error and picking up things, I would actually suggest reading this book, having someone else's information given to supplement your first-hand information. Then you'll probably find going through life trying to seduce people, whether it be for business, relationships, friendships, or otherwise, a lot easier if you're using this book as a guideline. Because like I said, a lot of things I found just through trial and error ended up being in the book anyways, and that would have saved me a long time and a very long road up. I find the book to be an absolutely amazing supplement to 48 Laws of Power and 33 Strategies for War. It absolutely fits within the veins of those. They're absolutely able to be used interchangeably, and I think it's written just as well as all of the others. He is still going to draw through historical examples to make his point, the same as he would have in 48 Laws of Power. That's going to make these stories stand out to you, be a lot easier to read, and it's going to give you a bit of history as you're learning something as well, which is something I really appreciate about his works, is that you're learning so many different types of things all at once. It's not just a very straightforward plow-ahead path of this is all you're getting. You're getting history, you're getting techniques, you're getting understanding, you're getting self-introspection, you're being able to understand people around you, and your past and your present relationships will be in a much clearer lens once you've looked through them through the lens of this book. So again, that is The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. We're going to be back next week. New videos are posted every Friday. Don't mind my dog. I guess she just wanted to come in and hop in and join this video here. So we'll see you next Friday, and have a good one. This has been Peerless. Take it easy, eh? See you again.